it's Tanisha Spain, host of Mid-American Gardener, and thanks so much for joining us for another episode. Today we've got show and tells, we've got some of your questions, and of course we got our panelists here to talk to you all about all things green and gardening. So let's have them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit more about their specialty or their area of interest. So Marty, we'll start with you.
Hello, my name is Marty Alanya. I'm retired from landscaping after seems like, forever. And I got a pretty good background in a lot of stuff, mostly home gardening, landscape. The home landscape is usually where I shine. So, but I also do other stuff. And then, the other two here on the panel, they got you covered. It's no problem.
We've got all bases covered, right?
You're not kidding. These two.
Okay. Let's roll right into John then. John, tell us about your specialty.
I'm John Bodensteiner. I'm a Vermilion County Master Gardener, and I like a variety. I guess my yard, I like to have a big variety, not a lot of anything. I've also gotten into some greenhouse work. I'm volunteering at one of the local high schools, and they have a greenhouse, so I'm teaching that, and it's opening up a whole new thing. We're even going to do some straw bale gardening this year.
Interesting. I wanted to look into that. Kelly Alsop, one of our panelists, does that too. So I wanted to explore that a little bit more. So we might bookmark that and make that a whole thing. So keep that in mind. Okay. And last but not least, Ella.
Hi, I'm Ella Maxwell. I'm a horticulturist up in the Peoria area and also a Tazewell County Master Gardener. And I enjoy woody shrubs and perennials. I have a large garden, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about houseplants.
Awesome. So yeah, we do really have all of our bases covered. All right. So Marty, we're going to swing around back to you. We've got some show and tells. We always lead with that. So what did you bring, and what are you going to show us?
Okie dokie. I just got the bare minimum basics of how to start seeds indoors. Okay. So you need something that won't leak. You can buy these. I use them. I've used these for several seasons. And when I hold it up, you'll be able to see the peat moss stuck in the corners. Okay, this is a tray that doesn't leak. All right, you're going to need something that doesn't leak. Before I use this, I will wash this out with a mild soap and bleach solution and let it air dry. Okay, and then it's disinfected enough to use. I won't carry anything over because I don't store these on the dining room table. They go in the garden shed where lots of other things live as well. So these also come with a cover. Okay, you buy the whole unit. There's a little cover. It says, I turn it around, you might be able to read it. It says Jiffy, like the Jiffy potting soil, or the little Jiffy pots, the little expandable dudes. I don't know. I've used those before, but I have better luck doing other things. So anyway, this lid that's on top of that tray just fits right on it, and it's made to do that. And then they stack to store, which is even better because who has plenty of space? Me. So you can use those, and you can use these little plastic pots that you can purchase. You can also use yogurt cups, either the little 6-inch ones that are the 6-ounce ones that are taller than they are big around, or the ones that are round. Just fit them in there. You can also use this that came from some garden center, and it was full of pots that I bought plants in, and then these will fit in here. Okay, so they just go in there, and you can fit them in however they go. This is a 3-inch little plastic pot. You can also use peat pots. They're compressed peat moss. And you can set this inside the black tray that doesn't leak, which is how you do this in your house, and then put the lid back on. Okay, so you buy seed starting mix, just seed starting mix. Comes in a bag, easy as pie. All right, put it in a large bowl. I have a big.
Oh, we've got John giving us a beautiful demonstration.
Yes, he had a bag and I didn't. So he's he's doing some more stuff.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
I know, you're not kidding. So put that in a large bowl or a container of some kind. You know, depending on how much you're mixing up, the top of a cake box works good. Whatever you have big enough. So big pan, whatever. Outside I do it in a wheelbarrow, but it's too cold for that. Get it moist, get it moistened with hot water, steaming hot water. Okay. It'll mix up better. Stir it around with a spoon or a trowel and let it sit there and soak up really well, because seed starting mix has a lot of peat moss in it and it sucks up moisture really well and holds it, but you have to get it moistened first. Okay. Once it's moistened, put it in your pots or put it in your tray and tamp it down, press it down well, because it's full. And once you start watering, it'll compress a lot. So tamp it down in your containers, whatever you put them in, to about 1/4 inch from the top. Stick your seed in there. I usually do 3 in a little 3-inch pot like I had, 3 seeds, and I space them around, because if somebody doesn't make it or they're pitiful, right, they go in the compost pile. Reduce, reuse, recycle. So, and then the other ones grow up. You can, here's what I do also, when the plants germinate, when the seeds germinate and the plants come up. So imagine you have this little dude here, and it's all full of little plants that are sticking up, and they get taller than this. Okay, here's what I do. Take a skewer, like you put on the grill with shrimp on it, stick it in the corners, tape it if you have to, and set your cover up a little bit higher. You still hold the moisture, but you don't crush your plants. Tromping around over here because hallelujah, it's February. And you can just raise it up higher. John is not a penny pinching, and he's got a taller,
Oh,
I don't get those. I just stack it up. By the time they're this tall, you know, like, which is like 3 or 4 inches, by the time they're that tall, they don't need to be completely enclosed, a little more.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's warm in your house, so that works.
you know what I find so funny is I think all gardeners are a combination of Marty and John, right? My kids know not to throw away yogurt cups. My kids know not to, you know what I'm saying? So I do a lot of that. Ooh, I can plant in that. Ooh, I can plant in that. But also, like John, I'll go out and get things that make life easier, kind of the latest and greatest. So everybody falls sort of in that mix. And I am definitely a mix of both of you, because if I can look at something and think, I could grow something in that, it can't go in the trash because I need it.
Thanksgiving.
Last year, Marty, you had me milk jugs to put over all of my, when we had that really late frost. I know there are other contraptions that you can buy, but I like that, you know, there's a medium in there. You can use things you have around the house if you don't want to, or not in a position to go out and buy. So I think that's,
I was just going to say, right now is when I start saving milk jugs, because I'm in April. So,
ma'am. Good advice.
We'll address that
I
later.
didn't know that you needed to soak the mix. So John, as we go into you, I know you've kind of got show and tells kind of similar to that. Do you soak your medium, and tell us a little bit about your method?
I do, because if you don't, it's going to be hydrophobic. And if you you can put it into your tray, put your seeds on that, and then put the dry seed starting on top of that, and then you try watering it. It just sheds water, and a lot of times you'll shed the top layer of seed starting, but you also shed a lot of seeds. So it's very, very important that you pre-moisten, because it is hydrophobic. It doesn't like, it's like after you wax your car, all those little beads of water sit on there, and it just runs right off. And so it is so very important. And you do need seed starting, like she said, is because otherwise you're going to end up with damping off. You're going to end up with other diseases. And so that seed starting is so very important.
Okay, on that same line, kind of jumping all over the place, but you guys keep giving me these little transitions. Ella, I want to go to you because we had a question come in an email, someone asked if they're using plant lights in the house to start their seeds, how many hours a day should they have those lights on? So kind of while we're in this zone, what's your advice on the lights?
Okay, as far as the lights go, you don't really need lights until the plants germinate. Many of the seeds do not require lights for germination. There are some exceptions. So you want to be sure to check the seed packet to know, and then put your lights on a timer. And that way you'll won't have to say, oh, I forgot. And they can run anywhere from 12 to 16 hours. There are certain plants that can be under lights continuously, like if you're germinating little hosta seeds, you can have it 24/7. But the whole idea is plants probably won't require that much, but it's the distance between the germinating seeds and the light. You don't want the light so high up. You really want the light right on top of your little seeds. That gives you the most lumens, and they can utilize that the best. You don't want them to stretch up to the light. So you want to be able to have your lights adjustable so you can go ahead and move them up and down. And to continue on what Marty and John said, I also start seeds at home, and I do mine in little meat trays, and I've used a fork to make drainage holes, and then I have the top. And the benefits of this is I can put it in my dishwasher, and then I just stack them all up on top of each other under my under counter lights in the kitchen, because that's a warm spot. You turn it on when you make coffee in the morning, you turn it off at night. And then a lot of times I'll have to get it close to the lights. I'll have to put it up on something. And here's another little mini greenhouse. So we're all super savers. As far as that goes. So the lights, probably a minimum of 12 hours.
Great, thank you. Okay, John, we're gonna go back to you. We're bouncing all over the place, but I love it. We're having good conversation. So your first show and tell, John.
Okay, my first show and tell, like I said, I've been working in the greenhouse. And one of the things I'm teaching right now is air layering. And I brought this is a hibiscus. And normally I wouldn't have cut this off, but I couldn't bring the whole plant here. So normally this would still be on the plant. And what I did is I took a very sharp knife and I cut around so that there's about an inch. And I'll put this up to the camera and you can see I took off about an inch worth of bark all the way down to where it's white. And what that is going to do is force the plant to put new roots right at this end. And I use what they call a rooting compound. Now I have found that certain plants, Schefflera, like we had about the same effect, 50-50. Actually, every one of them rooted, whether I use the compound or not. Now, what you're going to do once you get this to this point, you're going to take one of these, and this is actually made for this. This is a rooting ball, but I've done it with like those containers that Ella had, and I've done that with, and just put those around. What this has got in here is sphagnum moss. It's very, very wet. All you do then, once you get your plant like this, you take your little pot and you squeeze it around.
Look at that.
And you leave this on the plant for about 6 to 8 weeks. After that, you will open it up and you'll be amazed. All the little roots, this little ball is going to be filled with roots. Then you cut it off and then you plant it into a pot. And
so does your cutting have to have kind of a woody stem for that method?
Usually you want a woody stem, but I've done it with like the Scheffleras. I've done it with just about anything. Trying to think of some of the others that I've done it with, like the Schefflera. I've done it with.
Can you root like that in water? Can you do?
You could,
that where you strip it. and
But
then
then
propagating
I've
water?
had better luck with it because this is still
Yeah.
on the plant. So it's
Yeah,
still
that works
getting the
better.
nutrients from the plant. So I have almost 100%, propagation. And this is going to be a clone of the original plant. That's the nice thing. You're not,
Mhm.
it's an exact duplicate. Sometimes like the Chevalier, we had somebody bring one in, or a rubber tree plant. We just did some of those. And I did the same thing. It just got too big, but they wanted the plant.
Mhm.
They wanted, and so I'm putting these little things around the different canes, and I'll get, like on the rubber tree plant, I'll get 20 new plants off of that one plant, and
Wow.
she'll get a couple of them. I may keep a couple, or the students will keep a couple, but it's so easy
Mhm.
and nice. And we did one with a Japanese lilac last fall outside. You can do this outside and get an exact duplicate of the
Wow.
plant. It's a clone. It's really the exact duplicate. And
Yeah.
the nice thing is you get a lot better germination or reproduction of the plant than doing cuttings. Now I'm going to talk more about cuttings, but this is by far the most
Mhm.
successful, I guess I would say. I
Um,
get almost 100% with this. Some of the others, we're down to about 50%, but we'll talk more about doing cuttings and grafting and other things like that
if
in the next.
Okay.
If I could just mention for a question that Debbie had written in or emailed in about a corn plant. So John's showing you a way to do this vegetative air layering propagation, and you could do this with this corn plant. So you can see
Yep.
how tall it really is. And
Oh,
so
wow.
where he would maybe attach this and he can start it over. But another thing that Debbie can do is you can see that I have started this over once where all I did was cut it off. And I would wait to do that until spring, and then I would set it outside, and there'll be an adventitious bud that'll come for you, Debbie, and you start it over again. Now, this one's gone, I don't know, umpteen years on this corn plant or Dracaena, but
Mhm.
it's the same kind of idea. So there are
Mhm.
different ways of vegetatively propagating a plant.
The
Okay.
one thing
And
with this,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
the one thing with this ball is if you use a plastic or clear, you're going to put like aluminum foil around it because you don't want light hitting the roots. So this one here is opaque and it's black. So this one I wouldn't have to, but I've got some like Christmas ornaments that that are clear,
Mhm.
that have come in two pieces. Well, I burnt a hole in each end and they fit together. But I had to put aluminum foil around it to keep the light from getting to the roots, because that helps the roots, and they just form beautiful white, just packed with roots.
Awesome. We could have a whole show with John's gadgets, right? Marty, do you have another show and tell with you, or did you want to do your question, the bugs?
I don't have another show and tell now.
Okay, let's jump to that. So this is a question that came in from Susan Chapman. She says, I have been planting flowers that are good for hummingbirds, monarchs, and bees. And she's referring to last year. She
Mhm.
saw some small green bugs that have been attacking the coneflowers and sunflowers and just about every flower. Doesn't want to spray anything on them because they are for pollinators, but wants to know what they are. And she could use some help. And this is from Crown Point, Indiana. So we don't have a picture of the small green bugs, but what's your hunch?
She said something in her missive about bean beetles, which is probably what,
Yes.
I mean, unless she means Japanese beetles. I don't know. Because they are greenish, and if you don't know what you're looking at, maybe that's what she means. I don't know. But either way, I also think she mentioned that she was using the pesticide called 8, made by Bonide. It's that is toxic to bees. So your pollinator garden, you're defeating the purpose there. You might try just insecticidal soap. You might try just making sure that the plants are healthy, because oddly, the whole system is set up to eliminate the weak. So the tree that gets the attack, or the plant that gets the attack, is the one that's weaker than others. The bugs will always go for those. I don't know. Just you know, perpetuating the species for the strongest. So that's how the whole system works. So, and also I wanted to also add that the Dracaena that Ella showed, probably the lady that had the corn plant question thinks, well, that's not my plant. Yes, it is. Yes. Ella is exactly right. Dracaena is a big family, and sometimes they're skinny and sometimes they're fat leaved, but those are all Dracaena. They've got those rings, markings all the way up.
Mhm.
Do exactly what they were talking about with that, because it may look different, but it's a cousin and it'll work.
I'm going to read that question then. Let's go ahead and get to that about the corn plant. This is from Debbie. She says, I have a corn plant that was given to me for my mom's funeral 13 years ago. It's gotten very tall and top heavy. Is there any way to force it to sprout leaves on the bottom of the stalk? One suggestion was to propagate it, but because of its sentiment, I'm afraid of killing it. So Ella, did you want to expand, or anybody want to expand any more about, you know, what she could do?
Well, I think the most important thing is how many stalks did it have? You saw in my pot that there were 3. So I would feel comfortable maybe trying to cut one down and see what happens. And I do believe that John's way of air layering is very good, because the plant is still attached in the pot, and so it will eventually root. It takes a lot longer time, and you just start over with the top of the plant. So I think that's the best way
Okay.
for Debbie.
All right.
And also, where you cut that air layer, when you try to air layer that Dracaena and it takes, and you cut it off the mother plant, then you will also get sprouts below where
That's
you
right.
off. So you'll make it shorter, you'll have a whole nother plant, and then you will encourage, that also will encourage more growth from the bottom. So it won't be so.
Mhm.
And then you can share that baby plant with one of the kids, maybe.
There you go. All right, John, we're back around to you. We've got about 3 minutes left.
Okay. You know, the reason I brought this big tall lid is because I brought all these plants in from the greenhouse home, and I needed something that wouldn't allow them to freeze, because today it is cold. This is one of the seed starting beds. This is a real small one. I use a lot of the Omaha meat styrofoam type containers that we put in half and fill them with sand. This is filled with sand, and I just stick all these plants in. Like this is a rosemary, so
no soil, that is only play sand in there.
just play
Just sand.
sand.
Mhm.
And keep it moist, but you want it drained. You don't want it in standing water. And here's a baby rosemary that I got
Mhm.
just like this one.
Mhm.
There's this cut here is mother-in-law tongue. And all I did was cut them off. The main thing with mother-in-law tongue is you want to make sure that this is the top of the plant. You don't, if you turn it upside down, you won't get any plants.
You'll be mad.
Here's one of the babies from that. It rooted, and I got a baby plant from that. So, and as you can see here, I've got some little spider plants.
Mhm.
Those are so easy. All you have to do, this is from the mother, all you have to do is pull this off and stick this in the sand. And a lot of times I'll just stick it in here and it'll grow, because they've got, if you look at them, they've got little roots on them. This little guy, this echeveria, if you have something like this that you want to have more of, all you do is take one of these bottom little leaves, turn it off,
Ignore their little screams. And
Yes.
and you can see here is one of them that I've done, and I'll take it out and look what's
Yeah.
happened.
Mm-hmm. Now
So-
that's over, people can expect this to happen over a couple weeks, right? I mean,
Um,
succulents are kind of slow pokes.
Anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks.
Gotcha.
But he's
Okay.
also got Swedish ivy and coleus in there, and they're like weeds, bang.
I
Right.
also got a cutting a curry, and it took. So
Mhm.
we're practicing on you know, aloe's another one
Everything.
that you can do.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
Oh my God.
Nothing beats free kid labor, right?
Yes.
In the greenhouse, in the greenhouse, in the greenhouse.
There-
In
Well, you
this
have
final
children.
minute,
That's why you're filming.
we've got 1 minute left, and Karen Ruckel, I posted on Facebook about this, but in this cold snap that we're in, really quick in a minute, what are some advice or tips for folks who have things in the garage? We talked about sheets and boxes. What are you guys doing with your overwintering items in the garage? Anything? Or do you just hope for the best?
I have some perennials that are in pots. They have died back and they were cut back in the fall. And I do have a heater in my garage that can kick on. But right now I have it set at 20 degrees. So those pots are really pretty cold, but they are meant to stay dormant. What you and Karen had are some more tender plants, like some of the salvias and things that really don't want to go below 45 degrees. So when it's really cold like this, maybe cardboard over them until the cold weather has passed, because you don't want to accidentally leave the garage door up, because that's when you're going to lose some of those things if you forgot to put it down.
All right, guys, we are out of time. Thank you so much for your time and talents. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time on Mid-American Gardener.